Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here at EarthX 2026, and it's my honor to be able to host a conversation with the renowned explorer, Bob Ballard. Bob, it's great to be here.
Nice to see you again, Admiral.
Likewise, too.
Pleasure.
And for introductions, I'm Tim Gallaudet. I was formerly the acting administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and for that, oceanographer of the Navy, which we'll get into. But Bob, I want to walk back a little bit in time. And first
How
off,
far back?
when I was a bright-eyed midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy,
Yes.
and my second year there, you came to give a lecture on this. Pardon me, this right here, and that
Right.
was the your expedition on Titanic, which everyone knows about. But and that set me on my course to become an oceanographer. Of course, I was hooked from the minute you started speaking. But on this cruise, look at the size of that team. Most people refer to you and Titanic kind of as if it was a one-man show. But so tell us about that.
No, it's definitely a we.
Yeah.
And in fact, whenever I did an article with National Geographic, which we did on this and many other expeditions, I always had a second author so I could say, we did this and we did that. So it's an imperial we, because in our business, as you well know, you can't possibly do it without a tremendous team, particularly when you're working 24 hours a day,
All right.
4 on, 8 off watches. And on our ship, the Nautilus, we have 3 complete teams rotating every 4 hours. So it takes a village. Definitely.
Yeah. I've been on your ship, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I really appreciate about you, and the fact that your leadership abilities, to me, is what inspired me. Not just the technical, but the fact that you could create a team like this and pull off what some would call impossible, make it look easy. But I know it's not. But so moving forward, though, I wanted, or actually backwards, pardon me. You would talk about this in your book, which we'll also get to, but so many people know you for Titanic, but what impressed me as an oceanographer are the 3, you said you rewrote 3 textbooks on oceanography with your PhD work and postdoc work. So share that with the audience, what that is.
I'm dyslexic, so I'm not into books a lot. So I always like to do things where we can literally reach out with people with our technology. But yes, but in my book, you'll see a prologue by my mother.
Yeah.
Because after finding the Titanic, they had me on the Today Show, the Tonight Show, the Tomorrow Show, the Next Show. And I came home and my mom called, and I'm the first of 13 generations of Americans to go to college. So I was born in Wichita, Kansas, where all oceanographers come from. So my Kansas mom calls me and says, we saw you on all the shows, but it's too bad you found that rusty old boat. Literally out of my mother's mouth, 2 days after, too bad you, and I said, so you're a great scientist. You found hydrothermal vents, and you rewrote the biology book, you found black smokers, rewrote the chemistry book, etc.
And
now they're only...
Mid-Atlantic Ridge.
And the mid-ocean ridge, and now they're only gonna remember you for that rusty old boat.
Yeah.
And moms are always right.
Yeah, well, yes. Not a bad thing, but ultimately, I think your PhD and postdoc work was really impressive to me, because those were new discoveries. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, plate tectonics was only an idea, and you pretty much confirmed it.
That was with Project Famous, right?
That's right, yeah. A French team.
French-American mid-ocean undersea study, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, wonderful.
Rewrote the geology book, and then hydrothermal vents, rewrote the biology book, and yeah. I love getting, as a dyslexic, I just love when we have to get to rewrite the books.
There you go. Well, and then you went on, as a show here, to write many other books.
Well, I went on a binge, sort of after, what fascinated me about the Titanic was when we sent our little ROV, little Jason Jr., down the grand staircase and turned, and there was a chandelier, scared the dickens out of us, because we had landed Alvin on the deck, but the grand staircase had a big glass dome that had shattered, and the staircase itself had been eaten by wood borers.
Oh, yeah.
So we literally landed with the opening right there, and out of Alvin came our little vehicle on a string. And then we went down, but we didn't want to get lost, so we used the bulkhead and went down and then turned, looked in a room, then went down another and turned, and that was our safety, the way to get out. And we turned, and a light went on in front of me. It scared the dickens out of me. And it turned out we were shining our light on a chandelier. like, you know, like a cowboy shooting himself in a mirror or something.
Oh yeah.
And that really got me the high state of preservation. You could read everything there for crew use only, first class entrance.
Oh wow.
And so I sort of got into looking at human history for about 20 years, and I went around and began looking at all the shipwrecks that had been lost. But what's really funny is I get these letters from kids.
Yeah.
Would you stop exploring so there's something left for me to find? And I like to point out to kids, I have found, a lot of ancient, about 55 ships or even more over the years. If you go online, you'll find that there's 3 to 4 million shipwrecks still undiscovered, chapters. And I like to tell young kids that your generation, not mine, is the generation of explorers, because your generation is going to explore more of Earth than all previous generations combined. So the age of exploration is just really beginning in the deep sea.
There you go.
And with the modern technology, it's accelerating rapidly.
Right, with drones and ROVs advancing. Yeah, in fact, that's something I championed at NOAA. We established the first uncrewed systems program and office.
Working with them right now.
That's right. and tell you, trying to get a new start at NOAA, a science agency under Trump, was not an easy task.
Yeah.
But we did it because the case is compelling.
Yeah.
Ocean exploration. And in fact, I think prior to us coming in there, we had something like 40% of the 20% of the US, 17% of the US EEZ had been mapped, and now they're up to 25%.
Right.
So
and we're doing more on that. We'll be talking about that in a few seconds. Right.
All right. But see, I'm impressed with your body of literature of all the wrecks you've been discovering over these years. What maybe were the top 2 or 3 that stand out to you, other than Titanic?
I would say the ancient shipwrecks that we found in the Black Sea, phenomenal and perfectly preserved. When we went into the Black Sea, it has the largest reservoir of dissolved hydrogen sulfide. So ships are perfectly preserved. We found human remains back to the time of the Greeks coming in there, and Jason and the Argonauts, and we're able to, from their skeletons, get their DNA.
Well, really?
Yes, but if you go online and you look preserved ships in the Black Sea, you'll swear it happened yesterday. Perfectly preserved. Yeah.
Interestingly, not the same environment, but similar. NOAA has some shipwreck sanctuaries, national marine sanctuaries.
Yes, I've been there.
In the Great Lakes.
Great Lakes.
Lake
and
Huron.
Well preserved.
Yes. Yeah.
Although the zebra mussels are now covering them up, but.
Not all of them, but I've been diving on a few of them, and that's what.
And the Hamilton and the Scourge in the War of 1812 in Lake Erie, perfect. The figurehead of Diana is still on the bow.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. And then sabers at the ready, and it was It's
Lake Ontario. You have to do that one because HMS Ontario is the oldest combined war grave of U.S. and British sailors.
And they're still there.
Revolutionary War. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Interesting. Great history, though.
Yeah.
Well, so moving on, though, the education piece, and you talked about kids writing you. That's another thing that is not prominent in your biography, but might be the most impactful.
I think the most, what we've been talking about so far really touches your mind. But when I came back from finding the Titanic, there was 16,000 letters.
Holy cow.
On my desk, so many letters that you couldn't even see the desk.
Wow. How about
and
that?
I opened those letters, and each one of them said the same thing. What do I have to do what you do? And I said, well, I double majored, double minored, so studying does help. But you then, they said, but the next time you go, could I go with you? Now, this is pre-internet. And thanks to the EDS here in Dallas, we were able to create the Jason Project. And for 20 years, they went and installed satellite receivers on the tops of museums and science centers. And we took 12 million kids live on expeditions. And now we're doing it really with the Nautilus. Jason Project only lasted a couple of weeks.
Right.
With the Nautilus, we do it 24/7 the entire time we're at sea. Go to nautiluslive.org and you're in the command center with us. And you can ask a question and get an answer.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I love that. And what a great program. And that started when? What year?
What, when I got the Nautilus?
No, the Jason.
Oh, the Jason Project, 1989.
1980.
Yeah.
That was when that's when I graduated from the academy.
Yeah, well, I was out in the finding shipwrecks, ancient shipwrecks between ancient Ostia, the seaport of Rome, to Carthage, ancient Carthage. And literally, it was really funny. Most marine archaeologists, when I ask them about where do you find ancient shipwrecks, they'd say, well, along the shoreline. And I said, well, where are you looking? Well, along the shoreline. And I said, well, that's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Have you ever thought of going, oh, they didn't go out there? And I said, you got to be kidding. So you got the Mediterranean here, right? And you got ancient Carthage and Rome between, you got Sicily and Sardinia. And I said, you think they went to get there? No, they took out a ruler and they drew a straight line and they went that way. And so I said, I'm going to prove it. So I got on my ship, lowered my camera systems in Gallaudet, southern Sardinia, and I drove over to Trapani, and I was land to land, and I got in the middle, and there they were. It was like I-95 without an Adopt a Highway program for 2,000 years. And they were literally marked by the amphors, because if you talk to us, see that one picture says ISIS? Up there. So I ask, you're all sailors, I guess, and if you were on a ship that had 200 bottles of wine aboard, what would you do on the way?
Throw them over?
What would you do with the evidence?
Exactly.
So the sedimentation rate in the Tyrrhenian Sea is a centimeter per millennium. You can't bury the trash. And so I literally picked up the trail of amphors. They were all intact. They weren't broken. And I went along that shipwreck after shipwreck, and I discovered as they got closer to Rome, there were more amphors. They doubled up.
Of course.
So, but yeah, I got on this history thing, and I just went far back in the time as you could go.
That's fantastic. Wow. Well, thank you. I wanted you to bring up ISIS. That was a Roman wreck?
That was a Roman wreck on its way back to Rome.
How about that? That's
and I had found another one was carrying a prefab temple to Carthage.
Stone.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
All
Okay.
assembled like, Rector set down there.
I don't think we have enough time. I wish we could go into that too. But Jason was, again, a wonderful project. And then let's go back now to Nautilus. You mentioned that. That was 2007 when you got the ship?
We got the ship in 2000 and well, now I'm trying to remember exactly when I got it. Allison, when did we get?
2009.
2009.
There you go.
Allison runs the trust.
Of course.
Call her up.
Allison
She's really in charge. I'm the sinecure. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's so. And how did you go about establishing this trust? And did you get funding?
Well, I was caught up by going to the Black Sea, and naturally, when you try to get a ship, a UNOLS platform, they're not over there. And then when I went to rent a boat, because I had a mobile system, I always got, I only wanted to use it for a couple of months, so I always got it the worst time of the year in the worst place.
Right.
And I literally did an expedition out of University of Rhode Island graduate, where I spent most of my time transiting there and transiting back, and I said, this doesn't work. So I decided to get my own ship, and it turned out to be, when the Germanies reunited, they were surplusing. This was the original name of the Nautilus was the Alexander von Humboldt.
Oh.
And it was a surveillance boat that you and I knew well during the Cold War, full of antennas. And I was able to talk a guy who had acquired, it's a long story, read the book. And we then transferred and transformed the Nautilus into the ship it is today, which
Terrific.
is wicked awesome.
Yeah, amen to that. How many expeditions have you done with the ship?
I got the stats.
Okay.
Come and hear my talk at noon.
Okay,
It's all
so
in there.
that's a teaser for y'all.
Well, Allison, how many? 180.
180? 180 expeditions with Nautilus. Proud to say I've been on one of those.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we can get to that in a second.
That was a fun one.
This is really what you might not all know is that NOAA has an Office of Exploration and a dedicated exploration ship called the Okeanos Explorer, and that was all thanks to Bob Ballard.
Well, originally it was the USNS Capable.
Right.
That was its original name.
Surveillance ship.
And it was Senator Stevens and Senator Inouye, a Democrat and a Republican that I went to, and told them about the need, because when we did the Presidential Commission, the Watkins Commission, we made the decision you needed dedicated ships of exploration. And so I got the Navy to transfer the ship along with some money to convert it into the Okeanos Explorer.
Great story. And thank you, because that was one of my favorite programs at NOAA that I was able to brief senators and congressmen about, and all of them loved it, as you said, bipartisan support. And that always got me during budget season, that always got me a few
Well, you know,
dollars.
it's what's so wonderful is we get bipartisan support because I go to either party, never at the same time, okay? And, and I ask them one question: do you want to know what you own? They say, of course I want to know. I say, well, we don't know what we own. 52% of the United States is the exclusive economic zone.
That's right.
And we have better maps of Mars and now even improved maps of the moon than we have of our own country.
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing. We have physically seen in the deep sea 0.001%.
Right.
We have all these discussions about
Below 6,000 meters.
well, no, in the dark parts of the ocean. This is seen with a camera or a human eye.
Right.
Yeah, very little.
Well, and actually, because of your work and that statistic, one of the things I had launched at NOAA, and I had to brief the White House Ocean Policy Council, was a national strategy for ocean exploration. They ended up turning it into National Strategy for Ocean Mapping, Exploration, and Characterization.
Right.
And now it's still going strong. It's authorized in law. There's a council, interagency council, and that's what's helping us.
Well, we won the award
Yeah.
to bring a consortium of universities: University of Rhode Island, University of New Hampshire, University of Southern Mississippi, and the Ocean Exploration Trust, to form the Ocean Exploration Cooperative
Institute. Yeah.
And our mission literally is the second Lewis and Clark expedition.
That's right.
But since we have more women aboard than men, we now call it the Lois and Clark expedition.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really happy about that. In fact, that was a headline in E&E News about our initiative that we were starting the second or newest Lewis and Clark expedition with that ocean mapping and exploration initiative. Fantastic. Well, now jumping back to Nautilus, I wanted to...
I see that person there.
That's right. So I was, that's myself when I was the oceanographer of the Navy on the Nautilus, and Bob, there's a great story here. I was in Bob's stateroom at the time. That is, we were diving on the USS Indianapolis, a World War II era.
Independence.
No. Oh, that's Independence, correct.
Independence,
Sorry.
off San Francisco.
That's right.
Right.
It's in the Farallones National Marine Sanctuary that NOAA owned, and at the time, we didn't know there were aircraft still on the ship. It had been scuttled off San Francisco, and so we were having a conversation much like this in your stateroom, and the TV monitor above your head, you couldn't see. I could see it, and then I saw in plain view that Hellcat fighter, and
because during the
pointed
nuclear testing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I pointed at you, and you looked up, and you said, "Let's go."
Yeah.
And we ran up to the control room, and you sat me right down. Put the ROV controller in my hands, the headset, so I could talk to Jim Delgado and live stream to the audience. And then your fine staff got the money shot right there.
Well, you know, it's really wonderful about it because I have a similar setup in my office. My office is across from the Ocean Exploration Trust. His home office is in New London, right across from the Coast Guard Academy. And I'm in an old mansion. Looks like an old mansion. And until you go into my office, there's a door. And so you come in this door, and after a while, what's behind that door? We call it the looking glass. Like Alice in Wonderland. I said, you want to go to the future. So we're in a really built in the 1800s old mansion. Looks like it. We walk through the door, we're on the Nautilus.
Okay.
We literally, boom. And this is really what you're going to have in your home. You're going to have, and we're designing that technology now with immersive cameras. You're going to have, when I was growing up, I'm 84 years old. I'm a little warmer than 84, but anyway. So we literally had a den. We called it the den because you needed darkness. And we went into the den, and we had a little TV set, black and white, with antennas. We put aluminum foil on for better reception, and that was the den. Well, the den's back. You're going to have a room in your house where you go and the room comes on, and you're in the Serengeti in the Jeep, and the person in the seat is alive, and you're literally driving along and you get a phone bill. Electronic travel is where we're headed with this kind of thing, and we're doing it right now.
Oh, and this whole concept of streaming explorations is your brainchild.
Well, telepresence.
Telepresence, exactly.
Moving well, see, when I made a dive in the Trieste too, in the deepest active volcanoes in the world are down in the Cayman Trough, 20,000 feet down. 6 hours to get to work in the morning, 6 hours to get home because coefficient of drag is the exponential function in it. And so you just can't accelerate that. So I spend most of my time in an elevator. And I said I would, and then you're on the bottom for minutes at times. So with teleoperated robotics, you never bring the vehicles up. We stay down 24/7. So it's not about how many dives you made, it's how many hours were you on the bottom. It's bottom time. You can't find anything unless you're on the bottom. With this now, we can stay down indefinitely and explore and explore and explore. But now we're adding force multipliers. We're adding autonomous vehicles.
Yep.
In fact, we're working with our partner at the University of New Hampshire, Dr. Larry Mayer, who has the DRIX.
Yep.
And he uses the DRIX as a mapping system. And I said, can we turn it into a mothership?
Yep.
So we
It's
launched
an unmanned
DRIX.
surface vehicle.
We literally launch DRIX and send it off hunting with a pack of dogs. I mean, it literally, you take the AUV.
AUVs, autonomous underwater.
And you have the guy managing the dogs.
Yeah.
Like when we look for on a trade route, for example, we're working on go down the trade route and go hunting.
Yeah.
And because in the deep sea, and when you're working at 20,000 feet, if you put 2 cables in the water, it's a knot.
Oh, yeah.
So you can only put 1 cable in the water, and that's Hercules. But then it can come over and communicate. The vehicles can come over to Hercules and say, we just found something better.
Yeah.
Or they can literally
They can dynamically replan their routes.
and then they can also through optical or acoustical modems talk to DRIX,
Yep.
which then microwaves the shore to the scientists.
There you go.
It's really wild.
I actually wrote an article about this for the Navy, and it was titled, All U.S. Navy Ships Should Be Motherships of Drones.
Yeah.
And that's where we're headed.
Well, we're land animals. I really enjoy being on land, and it's nice to be able to step through the looking glass. Just like in Narvia, you went into a closet, and
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, you went through a mirror, and what was it? The Terminal 9.5 for going
Oh, yeah.
for Harry Potter. You're all going through a portal and stepping into another world. And that's where we're headed, where you literally, now when I first started using it, I stayed in a hotel nearby because it was hard to be under the ocean and then get in a car and drive home. And so I thought you're defeating the whole thing by going across I had a mystic at my Challenge of the Deep. But what I found was difficult, but I adjusted, was when you get underwater, particularly now with our new immersive cameras, where you're not looking at technology, you're looking at, 200 peripheral vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're building right now for our center in Connecticut.
Oh, neat.
Is we're going to literally make you a fish, and your mind goes into it, but then you get up to go to the bathroom, and it's in Connecticut. And so it takes a while to go like this, but you finally adjust to transitioning your at the speed of light.
There you go.
And that's where we're headed. That's where we are. Actually.
We are, yeah. Well, this was exciting for me because as the oceanographer of the Navy at the time, I was in charge of all the Navy's oceanographic ships and capabilities and people. And so seeing this technology in action allowed me to develop a number of science and technology strategies that we adopted. And now the Naval Oceanography has the largest underwater drone fleet in the world.
Right.
And but it's not always technical and serious. And there was a time right after this cruise that I invited Bob to a formal Navy dinner.
Very formal.
They're called dining outs. And and I have a picture actually. And the nature of Navy formal dinners is there's a little bit of fun that's to be had. And my staff did a little surprise for us.
Yes, for you.
Made a movie poster of Bob and me.
You gotta love it, I thought you would have burned that negative.
Yeah, oh my God. I couldn't. My wife wouldn't let me. But ultimately, we had a good time with that. And it was great to have you. But then at NOAA, when I was the acting and deputy administrator, interestingly, one of the few times I got to meet with you was here. Of course, ocean exploration, as you said, is out there in our oceans. I mean, our meeting happened to be in Atchison, Kansas, of all things.
Well, I'm from Wichita.
And
that's Senator Jerry Moran.
Yeah. Well, and this is the beauty of this, is that aircraft is a replica of Amelia Earhart's, and Atchison is where Amelia Earhart was born.
Born in her grandmother's bed.
Okay.
Yeah, she was born in her grandmother's bed, and right outside she put on her jeans, and down the hill she sled up. She was quite a modern woman for sure.
Well, because you at the time you were searching for her plane,
Yeah,
aircraft, and
off of yeah, everyone keeps searching. That's still one yet to be
yeah,
found.
that's right. There,
We thought the guy found it off of Howland Island where she was landing
right,
to
right.
refuel. Turned out to be a pile of rocks.
Mm,
Now we've got someone that are. We get more Amelia Earhart mail than you can
sure,
believe.
sure. Well, that's really all the children out there. That's their goal. That's their
Yeah.
target. But yeah, and I think the beauty though too is that you got the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee,
For CJS.
and that's a handy partner to have
Yeah.
when it comes to
Oh, our
the
traveling
budget.
exhibit will be in Wichita in May
Okay.
on the true story behind the Titanic, which you know was a cover for our top secret mission to the Scorpion. And most of the public don't know that was what
A Navy sub that
they finally declassified it, and I can finally. It's because I was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Explorer Scout, Army, and I was always taught to tell the truth, and I always had to lie about who sponsored the Titanic expedition.
For the audience, the Navy had two subs that were sunk, unfortunately, and
And the Scorpion
Bob
was carrying a nuclear weapon, and my commanding Vice Admiral Ron Thunman. And I said, well, it turned out that the Scorpion was here, and the Thresher was here, and the Titanic was in the middle. And I said, we need to tell someone so that Soviets wouldn't tag us with a satellite
right.
that we're going to the Titanic. And we had a team aboard to see if they tagged us. They didn't, so we went down and did the Scorpion first. But it taught me how to find the Titanic in
That's right.
5 days.
And it was the debris field, isn't that right?
That was it.
Yeah.
Because I'm dyslexic, and so I completely visualized the sinking. And when I began mapping the Scorpion and found its long debris trail, I said, I can find that. It was a mile long. So instead of mowing the lawn with a sonar, I went boom, 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 and got it on the 9th line.
And you
walked it in.
The Navy only granted you a few days.
A
to
few
do
days.
that. Yeah,
Well, it was interesting because I had French aboard, and I had National Geographic aboard on a top secret mission, and I had to deflect them. And so I got them into the technology. And when we left the Azores, we removed compasses and things like that. And when we left the Azores, instead of steaming west to the Titanic, I was steaming south to the Scorpion. And I was hoping they wouldn't say, the sun's in the wrong place.
Right,
It's supposed to be. And I kept deflecting them. And then I had embedded in my team, because we were standing 4 on 8 off watches, so I had 3 teams. I had to embed intelligence officers. So I picked women and said they were stenographers. And they were naval intelligence officers. But they knew who could come in and could not come in. But they were dressed as civilians, and we pulled it off.
You did? You did.
Long story.
Famously. and all of
There it
this,
is.
there you go. All of this is, I think, just masterly crafted in your book here, your memoir. And if anybody has not gotten a copy of that, I encourage you to do it. It's a great read. I enjoyed it thoroughly, learned a lot of new things about you. And I think what
It's still not known yet.
well, no, but really, I think what comes off here is not just the technology and discovery, but the humanity and your friendship and leadership, and that's something I appreciated most in the book.
Well, and at the christening, it was so nice.
Here we go.
There's my wife, Barbara, cracking the bottle.
Yeah.
And what was so wonderful about it, in many ways, I felt like I was going to my funeral, because all my teams over the years, going back to in the 70s, all my teams over the years were there. I was the only one that knew everybody, and I was introducing all my teams to one another. And that, to me, I have the longest grant in the history of the Office of Naval Research. I've been with National Geographic, where I met Barbara for 50-some years.
This is the USNS Robert Ballard that was christened just a few weeks ago.
Just a few weeks in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I'll be sailing on it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to join you if you don't mind, because those used to be my ships. I was as oceanographer for the Navy. I paid for those and I operated them, and so I couldn't think of a better.
Wasn't that a fun event? That was fun to get all the people together.
That was great. That was a really, you were in peak form.
Well, Barbara, she stole the show. I mean,
she did good. I love that picture. That's right. Yeah. And so, wrapping up, I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience going into your big?
Well, we're just in midway through. We've been think about our mission. Our mission is to explore the new America, which is 52% of the land we own. And it's 5.5 Louisiana purchases.
How about that?
So it'll take a little longer.
Yep.
So we have a 10-year grant. We're halfway through it, and we're about to sail, and we'll be off Guam and exploring our new America. I'll be working on mapping areas in an area where the oldest ocean crust exists, amazing amount of geology to be found there. And so tune in. And in fact, we're going to be broadcasting on the 250th anniversary of our great country on July 4th on ABC, because Bob Iger is a good buddy and Disney, he owns ABC. So we'll be coming to America live from the new America on the 250th anniversary of our country.
We'll tune in.
You can't get better than that.
Yeah. Bob, one more thing. Tell me where you see the intersection of ocean exploration and environmental conservation.
Well, I think they go hand in hand. I mean, our job is to find out what we own, and then we have the technology now to go in ahead of conservationists and find the exact dimensions of a sanctuary that need to be preserved. So you don't over ask.
Right.
So we need to make sure that it's responsible conservation and not just drawing a circle around a rock and you haven't even been inside the circle.
That's right. That's what we did at NOAA with our National Marine Sanctuary Program. The first part of it is always assessing and monitoring and characterizing the area. And then working with communities, you can determine the extent that should be preserved and managed.
Exactly.
But yeah, National Marine Sanctuaries to me are just the jewel in the crown of environmental conservation. NOAA had 15 when I was with the administration, and then now we have 18. Right. A lot of those were actions we took to get the ball rolling. The ones we added were Mallows Bay and the Potomac River, not exactly the ocean, but an important coastal management area, as well as shipwreck sanctuaries in Lake Ontario.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
well, I think of more as nurseries.
Yeah.
You know, when we do a 30 by 30 and by 2030, the key is that that means that 70% is not a sanctuary. So, but it's think of again as nurseries that are feeding out and maintaining the species' existence.
That's right. Coral reefs, for example, are nurseries for fisheries. And
exactly.
NOAA has some fantastic sanctuaries in American Samoa as well as Florida Keys that are coral reef sanctuaries.
Yeah. No, if you do it right, the answer's in the middle.
Excellent. Well, yeah, you can't manage what you haven't measured.
Exactly.
And that's what
and when you realize how little we know, you know, what is out there that we don't even know about that needs to be preserved.
That's right.
So exploration precedes everything.
Last thing I want to share with you is that you have your memoir and now I have mine.
Well, I want an autographed copy. You got an autographed copy of mine.
And you wrote the foreword of mine.
Yeah.
It's called Holding Fast in Heavy Seas, and it's available on Amazon right now for pre-order. But thank you for writing the foreword. And quick spoiler, you're in the very first part of the book because it was when I was a midshipman seeing you give the lecture on Titanic.
Yeah, they call it, it was a Forrestal lecture, but then normally the brigade called it the Borisol, but I did all right.
Yeah, so it's named after.
I do that every 4 years.
Yeah. It's I'll never forget that time. And when I first saw you, but I didn't meet you till later.
Yeah.
And then actually I ended up giving the same kind of lecture at the Naval Academy. It's the whole student body, they call the brigade.
Yeah.
In 2019, after I had sailed on your ship, and I spoke about ocean exploration. So it was a nice full circle.
Yeah.
And because I was funding you in the Office of Exploration and Research at NOAA by about $6 million a year. The joke I told the mids was that when I was a midshipman, you were my hero, but when I was at NOAA, I became your $6 million man.
Yes, man. Which has now been gone up. Thank you,
yes,
sir.
Sir.
Yes.
Right.
And but we still could use more because we're not at our 10-month operating tempo.
Okay.
We need another 10 million to get up to full operating tempo. So
I'll talk to you.
Could you work with me on that? All right.
Okay.
I'll be on the Hill.
All right, we'll do it. Bob, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, that was a good time.